So if you guys don't know, yesterday as I'm recording this, Nintendo just showed off their newest system coming out in March of 2017, the Nintendo Switch. And it's been shown to have quite a bit of third-party support. In fact, I gotta say though, they really did step it up this time around from the looks of it. Now sure, there are probably gonna be more third-party games to come, but for the starting point for the third-party games, these are actually pretty good, I'd say. And I'd say one of the third-party games that caught me and a bunch of other Dragon Ball fans' attention was the fact that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 was going to be released on the Nintendo Switch. And even though it was only briefly shown for a little bit, you could definitely tell that, that's Xenoverse 2. They're coming out with Xenoverse 2 on the Nintendo Switch. But the question is, should you even get the newest Dragon Ball game on the Switch? Or should you just wait it out so you don't have to play the same game over and over again? Well, honestly, I don't think you should get it for the Nintendo Switch, honestly. Now, this is just my opinion, guys. Just keep in mind, you can have whatever opinion you want. If you really do want to get Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on the Nintendo Switch, go for it. But I'm just saying right here, I don't think you should get it, honestly, because first of all, you're playing the exact same game that a lot of people are already burned out of to begin with. So this would essentially just be buying a second copy of the game. And second of all, it won't even make that much of a difference. In fact, in many ways, it'll actually be somewhat of a downgrade. Now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Nintendo, but it is a fact that their hardware isn't as powerful as something like the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, or PC. I'm not saying that to bash Nintendo or anything, it's an actual fact. And while Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 isn't that big of a game, which requires too big of specs or anything like that, it's not like a game like Skyrim where it requires all these fancy settings or anything like that. No, it doesn't need all that, but I'm just saying, whether or not it's going to have all these fancy settings, it still is going to be somewhat of a downgrade nonetheless. Now, sure, there are going to be some cool perks that make people want to buy this game for the Switch, like, creating your own custom character on the go. That idea sounds really cool, but I mean, then again, it's just like, for that one little feature, with Xenoverse 2 already busted kind of as is, and just overall it's not that balanced of a game, it's going to just be somehow even worse, which you never think would even be possible. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Nintendo having Dragon Ball games on their systems. In fact, it doesn't do any harm to the community at all. In fact, Dragon Ball Fusions was probably one of the greatest Dragon Ball games ever made, and it came out on a Nintendo system. And there have been instances in the past where it's just like, the Budokai came out on the GameCube and it worked just fine, like the equivalent on the PS2 and stuff. It wasn't that big of a difference, but compared to something like, comparing the Nintendo Switch and Wii U to something like the PS4, Xbox One, and even PC, oh gosh, it probably won't even stand a chance that much. So, how Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 will release on the Nintendo Switch, I have an analogy to make. I think this game on the Nintendo Switch will be like the equivalent of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 on the 360 and PS3. You could still play the game and it's acceptable, it just doesn't feel, like a current gen or anything like that. It's still gonna feel like, last gen, and just, I understand that, all this performance stuff isn't like the most important thing in the world, but still, if you can't even like play the game with enjoyment and you're just gonna be playing a watered down version, then there's honestly no reason for why you should get it. Comparatively though, I think releasing games like Dragon Ball Fusions and Dragon Ball Extreme Butoden and stuff like that on Nintendo system, that was just fine, and then maybe save these, like major Dragon Ball games, like these third-party stuff for like, the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and then save like Fusions, Dragon Ball Heroes, if it ever gets released in the US, it probably won't, but whatever, and save like, these types of games for the Nintendo Switch and the 3DS and all that stuff, and then save, like Xenoverse 2 and all the future major Dragon Ball games on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So yeah, guys, that's just been my little video talking about how I feel about Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 being released on the Nintendo Switch. Again, guys, I have no problem with Nintendo, and I think I will still probably buy a Switch, but that's if, I'll probably buy it like when it goes on sale or something. And just so you know, this is not meant as like a Nintendo bash video or a Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 bash video or anything like that. It's just meant to me giving my opinion. If you agree or disagree, I'd like to hear everyone's input in the comments down below, and just give everyone's input about this whole Dragon Ball Xenoverse Nintendo Switch, and should more Dragon Ball games like this be released on Nintendo systems. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Ninja out. Peace, everybody.